Hello, I'm Frost, and welcome to my Is It For You guide for X4 Foundations. In these guides, I provide an overview of the game and hopefully provide you with enough information for you to decide whether it is indeed for you. Okay, so what is X4 Foundations? Well, X4 Foundations is an exploration game. It is a trading game. It is a base building game with a little bit of space combat thrown in as well. Now, it is made by a German developer called EgoSoft, and there were multiple instances of X4. Previous to that, obviously, there was X1, X2, X3, and we're now at X4. The game came out in 2018, I believe. And has had a number of updates since then. The most recent, at the time of making this video, was version 3.0, which was a big advancement. And they also released a DLC called Split Vendetta. Now, it is a single player game. There is the ability to jump into somebody else's game. They have a concept called Venture, but it is very, very basic. But primarily, it is a single player game. So what is the premise of the game? Well, you start off in a small ship in space near a station, and from there you go out and explore, and you have to find your way around the X4 universe. And the way you do this is by going through gates that jump you from system to system and set into different sectors. And there is also a superhighway that works like the Circle Line in London, which takes you all around. It runs around in a big circle and takes you all around various parts of the universe. And in X4, you will meet a number of alien races, these being the Argon, the Paranid, the Taladi, and the Split. And within each of those races, there are then two factions. And what you will do is you will perform missions for these various factions that can involve trading, moving passengers around, making repairs, doing some bounty hunting, finding some items, doing some trades, and so forth and so on. So there's a good little mixture of stuff that you can do. Then from there, you will then also trade, and you will then also sell loot from ships that you destroy. Now, these can be enemy pirate ships. They can also be two alien races called the Kark and the Xenon. I have to think there for a minute. And from that, they drop loot, and you can then sell that loot. And as we'll come on to a little bit later, the Kark and the Xenon also give you some other things that come in very, very useful. So once you've acquired these funds, what do you do with it? Well, with the funds, you can build bigger and better ships and more of them. And as you do different things for the various factions, you'll also get standings with them, which gives you access to blueprints, gives you access to the ability to get modules to build bases. And building bases is a big, big part of X4 Foundations. What they are primarily are factories. And with these, you can build various components. And with these components, you can then sell these and trade them with the other factions to then gain more funds, which then gets you bigger ships and so forth and so on. And you can get to the point where you can build a huge empire, and you can then also take over systems from the other factions if you so desire and go to war with them. Now, the progression is pretty good. It starts off primarily with you doing some exploring, and eventually you'll fall onto the initial campaign with an alien boron called Boso Tar. And from there you will get your first base, and that will get you underway. As of version 3.0, we then got the Activa campaign and also the Paranid campaign. So they introduced the amount of campaigns, as the one with the boron, with Boso Tar, was quite short. And now the campaigns get you much, much more involved in the game. Then coming back to the funds will unlock the modules and also the access to the ships. And you have a whole different class of ships. So you have scouts, fighters, miners and couriers for your small ships. Then you move up to frigates and corvettes and transporters. Then finally you get to large ships, not finally, before that you get to destroyers, miners and freighters. And then you get the extra large, which are the carriers and the auxiliaries and the builders. And then the loot you get from the drop ships, which I mentioned earlier, like from the Xenon and the Kark, allow you to get upgrades for these ships as well. And those upgrades make a big, big difference to the capabilities of your ships. Upgrades being weapons, movement, etc. So the difficulty of the game, I would say it's high. Especially at first. It's very, very easy to get disheartened with slow progress. It is difficult earning kind of your first few thousand credits or your first million, and you do feel like you're making very, very slow progress at the beginning. But then you will discover something called Nevidium, and you'll learn how to mine Nevidium, and then suddenly your income will start to grow. Once you actually start doing bases and start getting your trading going, then the game really starts to pick up pace, and you can do many more upgrades and buy many more ships, and the game becomes much more intense. But at the beginning, there's a steep learning curve, and it is a little bit of slow progress. And I would say, realistically, you need to get at least 30 to 40 hours in the game before you kind of really start sort of making good headway. But the pace, though, is easygoing. It's a sandbox, so you choose the intensity of how you want to play. If you're just trading, then you can take it at your own pace. You can just walk away from your keyboard, go and get a cup of tea, come back, etc. But obviously, if you're deciding you want to go to war with an empire, with a faction, or you want to be fighting, CAC and Xenon bases, then obviously the pace picks up a fair deal. And the immersiveness of the game, I would say, is fair. It is an interesting universe. I think the aliens are interesting. There's a good variety of ships and stuff to do. And obviously, you're only limited by your imagination when it comes to what you do with your bases and how you build them. Now, in terms of a time sink, it is huge, but you get value for money with X4 Foundations. I will say that. I personally have put in about 430 hours into the game so far. I have played it twice, which comes on to the replayability. So the replayability is good. Obviously, you can decide how you set out, and you may want to start with a different faction. You may want to go to war in one game and have another game where you just concentrate on building loads of funds. So the replayability is extremely high, and for that I think that is excellent. But yeah, the time sink is substantial, and it's very easy to lose loads of hours building bigger and better and more profitable bases and creating massive fleets. And you think, yeah, I just need one more ship, or I just need to add this one extra module, and then I'll get enough funds to get to that next ship, and so forth and so on. You know how it works. But for me, the highlights of the game are definitely the base building. I think the stations are superb. You can get some really great designs, and these stations are huge. So once you've built them, you can walk around them, and you get a real good sense of scale with them. And also the other highlight for me is getting the upgrades to your ship. There'll be one ship that you fly all the time, and then you assign other ships to other pilots and other commanders. And talking of assigning ships, that is one element of the game that I would consider to be very difficult, is that the menu interaction is very, very complex, especially when you're trying to give orders to ships and fleets and trying to get trades going and automating those trades. It can get very, very finicky, and that does take a lot of getting used to. But once you do crack it and you get an idea of kind of how the AI does things, then things get a lot easier from there. And then also the other highlight is the split expansion. I thought that was an excellent DLC. Added loads of story content, added loads of extra sections to the universe, and a bunch of whole new ships as well. So that was great. So as an overview, it is a great space game with all the good stuff you would expect from a space game. There's base building, there's fighting, there's trading, there's meeting aliens, and getting bigger and better spaceships. So in that sense, I think it's great. Also, version 3.0 was a huge step forwards. When X4 Foundations first came out, it was a little bit clunky, to say the least, but they've made some great updates, and they've really firmed up the AI and the auto trading. And once you can get past those first few hours of frustration, then you will get hours and hours of entertainment from X4 Foundations. And from my point of view, I would love to see a co-op multiplayer of the version. I think that would work really well. I don't think it would work as a PvP setup. And for that, you've got EVE Online. That is your PvP universe. But as a co-op, I think it would be really, really interesting. Also, the game, because it is an active universe, and what I mean by that is that, especially when you get to endgame, all of the trades happen all around the universe. So the more profitable your universe gets and the bigger it gets and the more interactions happen, it puts a big CPU load on your machine. And so, if we could have servers that we could log onto that, handle the grunt of all of that work, and then have a client set up similar to Space Engineers, for example, I think the co-op multiplayer would work really well for that. So we never know, who knows, maybe EgoSoft will go down that route. Now, in terms of YouTube guides, there are not that many guides around, surprisingly. HTF Game Studio did do a lot of guides, but stopped a year or two ago. But they're still relevant, and I still recommend those. And Grey Duster also did some videos, and he did some recently on the Split Vendetta and the 3.0 expansion. And I'll link both of those YouTubers in the description below. So there you go. So that hopefully gives you an idea of what X4 Foundation is all about. And if you do decide to go and play it, then I hope you enjoy. I certainly did. That's it from me. Please give me a like if you enjoyed it. You can dislike too. Please be sure to subscribe, as I release a lot of sci-fi gaming content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I do. And that wraps it up, apart from the streaming. I also stream on YouTube Wednesdays and Fridays. So please come join me and say hello and chat. That's it for now. Bye.